Everybody wants a quantum leap. The entrepreneur who wants the business breakthrough, the athlete who wants the performance breakthrough, the change maker who wants that impact breakthrough. But there is a problem. Most people are trying to create quantum leaps without understanding what one actually is. And so because of that, they either quit too early, keep doing more of the wrong thing, or they spend years waiting for that breakthrough that never arrives. Today, I want to show you what a quantum leap really is, why it happens, and the way in which human beings can create that jump in their results. Because once you understand this, you will stop chasing breakthroughs, you will start creating them. Hi, I'm Jody Jackson, a neuroconditioning specialist who uses neuroscience to train your brain for high performance so that you can rewire reality for the results you most want. So what is a quantum leap? So if we think about it in terms of physics, right? A quantum leap, for the sake of simplicity, it is when a small change in energy creates a nonlinear change. So an electron is here, and then it's here. There is a complete shift, and there is no point in between. There is no gradual movement. There is no halfway point, right? It is here and then it's here instantly. And now when we use this phrase to talk about results, right? When people say somebody has made a quantum leap, what they're really doing is describing three things at once. Number one, that somebody has created a massive shift in their results in a short period of time. And it looked like it didn't take that much energy. Number two, the jump was big. And number three, it was sudden, right? It seemed to come out of nowhere. So when we say quantum leap, we are talking about a sudden jump to a completely new level. The athlete that suddenly becomes elite. The entrepreneur who goes from struggling to suddenly succeeding. The visionary who finally sees their idea turn into impact. So quantum leap, it's not just describing just getting a little bit better results. It is describing a change in category, right? A change in level, a transformation. And if you are watching this, that is probably what you are trying to create as well. And so for this video, I want to give you an example of how to quantum leap and what are the ingredients that you actually need for it to happen for you. And a quantum leap, it can be difficult to compute because we have to somewhat remove rational from how this produces results. And what I mean when I say this is that the brain cannot compute the power of compounding. And this is part of the process for dramatic, explosive, category-shifting results. But your brain, it thinks like this, and it struggles to process compounding. It struggles to process this. And let me give you an example. So if I was to ask you right now, would you like me to give you 1 penny today and double it for the next 30 days? Or would you like me to give you £3 million in 30 days time, right? What would you pick? Now, most people, they would say £3 million in 30 days time. But if you take a penny and you double it every day, on day 10, you would have just over £5. But on day 30, you would have just over £5 million. It's one of the best illustrations of compound growth, right? And progress often looks invisible for a long time, right? At day 10, you've only got £5. And then as the days move on, suddenly it dramatically explodes. But all of that progress, that leap, it happens in the last couple of days. And there's another example which absolutely blows my mind. So if you imagine a piece of paper which is 1/10 of a millimeter thick, right, and you fold it over once, then it's 1/5 of a millimeter thick. And if you fold it over again and again and again, every fold doubling its thickness, then by the 10th fold, it's as wide as your fist. It's still not that much growth. But if you just keep doing the same process, the same fold, doubling, suddenly growth becomes explosive. By the 42nd fold, it will make the paper as thick as the distance from the Earth to the moon. And after 103 folds, right, that original 0.1 millimeter piece of paper is thicker than the observable universe, right? This is exponential growth. This is compounding. This is leaping. And here is what I hope you're beginning to see, is that progress often looks invisible for a long time, then suddenly appears dramatic, right? The leaps happen in the last few folds. And in both of those examples, even though the leaps happen at the end, it's only reflecting the accumulation of all of the previous days. The overnight success happens at the end because of all of the days that you've prepared for it. The athlete who suddenly dominates, the entrepreneur who suddenly explodes, most of the time when you see that, you're actually witnessing fold 80, not fold 1. It is the result of compounding action. It's action, right? But here is the ingredients that most people miss. And it is why they never make it to fold 80, right? Why they never actually experience a quantum leap for themselves. And it's because they cannot sustain themselves in that flat stretch before it. So I want you to think of a quantum leap. It's not something you create. It's something that you are capable of sustaining, because the leap is the byproduct of sustained action rather than one act itself. So the question is whether or not you can stay in the process long enough for a quantum leap to actually happen, for exponential growth to actually happen. Can you keep showing up when there is no evidence or when the results are very, very small? Can you keep moving when there is no applause for you? Can you keep taking action? Can you keep folding the paper when it actually looks insignificant? This is why the inner game is so important. This is why with my clients, we build the inner game. We build the identity, the beliefs, the mindset. We create that internal alignment before the world reflects it back at us. These are essential. These aren't necessarily the leap itself, but they are the invisible forces behind it, right? Because if those forces aren't aligned, your identity, your emotions, your mindset, your beliefs, if they are not internally aligned, then you don't have the conditions for a quantum leap to happen. Why? Because if it is out of alignment, right? If you want success, but you fear failure, or you want growth, but you fear rejection, or if you want abundance, but you actually don't know whether you're worthy of it, right? Then you will burn yourself out in the flat. It will limit your actions, and you will find it harder to make those folds that create those results, because action is downstream from the mind producing it. One of my mentors says, as I think, so I feel. As I feel, so I do. As I do, so I have, right? Results do come from taking action, but actions come from how you think and how you feel. And if internally you are pulling in two different directions, then it slows you down from actually taking action. So it is harder to sustain yourself in the stretch. And you are looking for outside validation before outside validation will actually validate you. It's an inside job to begin with. And this is why some people experience leaps and others don't, because almost all the value lives in the last few folds. But the math refuses to hand you the last few folds until you've actually done the first many, right? Most people, they stop somewhere around fold 7. They look at the size of their pile and they conclude it doesn't work. It's not big enough. The effort doesn't produce enough results. And they fail because they stop folding the paper. They stop doubling the coins. They stop before the mechanism of a quantum leap has had time to actually work, right? The only thing that keeps you folding the paper through having no evidence of success is being internally wired for it, right? A belief that makes the flat stretch make sense, an identity that doesn't need proof yet, a state that doesn't read no results as no success or as stop, right? They see the action as evidence, not the results. And not only that, even if you were to achieve a jump in your results, if you are not wired for them, so let's say you get invited to speak on stage and it's an incredible opportunity, one bigger than you have ever had before, but you don't feel ready for the size of the audience. Or maybe they give you a fee that's triple what you're used to, right? And it actually makes you question your worth, whether you can deliver value on that amount. If you experience more and it is met with a feeling of fear, of anxiety, of imposter syndrome, then you will self-sabotage to bring your results back into line with the expectation of yourself. It's not just that you need to be wired to sustain the stretch, you need to be wired to receive the growth. If you have a big vision, right, and this is something Les Brown says, if you have a big vision, you need an even bigger mindset to hold it. So if there is one thing I want you to remember from this video, it is this: a quantum leap never comes from nowhere. It comes from the invisible work suddenly becoming visible. Right? The breakthrough is built long before it appears. So the question isn't, how do I create a quantum leap? The question is, can I keep folding the paper when it still looks small? Can I keep taking action when the results don't show yet? Because the people who do are the ones who eventually appear to everyone else as an overnight success. And if you would like help building the beliefs, the identity, the mental conditioning that allows you to stay in that invisible phase long enough for the breakthrough to actually happen, then I've put a link to my free Wired to Win masterclass below.